Day 464 of doing a LeetCode problem every day. All right, y'all, we're back again. Another day, another LeetCode problem where we're doing daily LeetCode problems. And today we have question number 869, reorder power of 2. The difficulty level is medium, but don't worry because you already know we're going to keep the solution as simple and easy to understand as possible. But before we get started, y'all, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And if you need any new Apple AirPods, go ahead and check out that link in the description so you can get you some. Now let's see what the question says. You are given an integer n. We reorder the digits in any order, including the original order, such that the leading digit is not 0. Return true if and only if we can do this so that the resulting number is a power of 2. All right, y'all, so that sounds simple enough, but let's go ahead and take a look at these examples anyway, just to make sure that we're doing this problem correctly. Now, we did a similar version of this problem yesterday, so if you missed that, I suggest you go check out yesterday's problem. That problem was just dealing with the power of 2. There was no reordering. It was a easy problem, so it's kind of a leading up problem to this problem. So go check that out. That was day 463, I believe. Now, in this example, in example 1, we have the input n equals 1. The output is true because 1 is a power of 2. So 2 to the 0 power is 1. Anything to the power of 0 will be 1, which means 1 is a power of 2, right? Because 2 to the 0 power is going to equal 1. Something like this. That's going to equal 1. That's true. Anything to 0 equals 1, so that means 1 is a power of 2. So let's take a look at example 2. That's why the output is true. So let's look at example 2. In example 2, we have our input our input n equals 10 and the output is false. Output is false because if we reorder 10, it would be 0, 1, or it'd be 1. That's a power of 2. However, 10 is not a power of 2. We cannot put 2 to the power of anything that will make it 10. So that's why it is false, because 10 is not a power of 2. 2 to the power of 1 would be 2. 2 to the power of 2 would be 4. 2 to the power of 3 would be 8. And then 2 to the power of 8 would be 6. 2 to the power of 4 would be 16. So as you can see, it jumps over 10 there. 2 is not a power, or 10 is not a power of 2, so that's why we return false. So I hope that makes sense to y'all. And now that we understand the question, y'all, let's get into the fun part, the actual solution. The solution is not that difficult at all, so let's get into it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to create a set to store the sorted digits of all powers of 2. So we're going to declare a variable called pool, and we're going to set that equal to a set of characters. So set less than, an array of characters. So set less than, open up the square brackets. It's going to be an array of characters, then put the greater than sign after the array brackets and initialize it with 2 parentheses like that. Then we're going to start from 1, which is 2 to the power of 0, like we discussed earlier. So we're going to declare a variable called I, and we're going to set that equal to 1 just to start. Now we need to generate the powers of 2. We're going to go all the way up to 1 million just for the sake of this problem. So we're going to say while I is less than or equal to 1 million. So that's 1 million right there. Why not just make it 1 billion, right? So we'll go all the way up to 1 billion. I think that's 3, yeah, that's 1 billion. So we're going to go up to 1 billion just for the sake of this problem. Boom. Now we're going to convert the number to a string, then sort its characters and insert into the set, and this is going to represent its digit pattern. So we're going to say pool.insert. We're going to open up the parentheses. It's going to be a string. We're going to turn it into a string because we need it to be an array of characters, so we need to turn it into a string. Then we're going to open up the parentheses and pass in I, come outside of those parentheses, but still inside the other parentheses, and we're going to say dot sorted and put more parentheses like that. Then we're going to move to the next power of 2 by saying I times equals 2. Boom, just like that. Now we just need to check if the sorted digits of n match any of the powers of 2. So all we have to do is say, come underneath this while, and we can say return pool dot contains, open up the parentheses, string, open up the parentheses, pass in n. Come outside of that, we're going to say dot sorted and pass in more, or put more parentheses. That should be all she wrote, y'all. That's all the code right here. So let's give it a run. Make sure it runs correctly before we submit it. Look at that, y'all. It's accepted. So let's go ahead and submit it. Make sure it's still accepted after we submit it. Look at that, y'all. 3 milliseconds beats and -%. I don't know what that means. Let's submit it again, see if it changes anything. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Let's see. And look at that, y'all. 0 milliseconds beats 100% of users. That's what I'm talking about. Those are some numbers that I like to see. So with that being said, y'all, hope y'all learned something today, and I hope to see y'all here tomorrow for another day, another LeetCode problem. See y'all then.